Joslyn Richards.
Yes.
We're live.
Yes, awesome.
Welcome to the podcast. Author of High Heels on Hardwood Floors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And what really excites me about this podcast is like that you had reached out and you were like, hey, what's up? I wrote a book and I'd really like to share this story. And I was like, yeah, sure. What's up? Come on. And I had a chance to read the book before, and I really enjoyed our short little conversation before this. And so, yeah, I'm excited to have you here to just continue to share your story. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here. Getting the story out there and getting it in as many hands as possible is the goal. So,
Yeah.
you start locally before you start big.
Yeah.
So the Post had pretty good things to say about you. So I was like, let's do a shot in the dark and see what happens. It's like fishing. You just kind of throw it out there, and whoever bites, that's where you go.
Yeah. I'm really happy you're here. One of the first things, I think it was even like maybe in the preface or whatever, you're like, hey, I'm not here to like tell you how to live. I'm not here to like push anything onto you. I'm here to tell my story. That in the very beginning of the book, it immediately disarmed me because like I do feel like sometimes there is just this propaganda machine that's just like left, right, you're wrong, I'm right, and I don't know, but it disarmed me.
Manifesto.
Yeah, exactly. So you just even saying that in the very beginning of the book, like I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong. Like I'm here to share my story. Like you decide from that. That immediately disarmed me, and I really appreciated beginning the book with that.
Most people have shields that they have up a lot. So when you said it disarmed you, the author's preface automatically dropped your shield.
Yeah.
And you need to be a little open and vulnerable to really feel the book.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you can't have your shield up there and you got to just feel it. That's what I say. And it was hard to relive that. Don't think that it wasn't. It was extremely difficult, but it's like I always told people if I could do it all over again, I'd do it exactly the same way because it made me, I may not be much of a success yet, but I am a success as a human being. And I've helped a lot of people along the way. And people kept telling me, put it down on paper. Get a talk show. Try to get a talk show. And I'm like, well, the talk show's a little lofty, but putting it down on paper might be a possibility. So when I enrolled back in college and stuff, and I've been doing really well with that, and I want to be a lawyer. And so I was like, you know what? I have a computer. Let's go for it. And when I started writing, it just flew. I just couldn't stop. It was
awesome.
It's like a gate. It's like a floodgate opens up and you just keep going and going and going and going. And so that's kind of how it happened. And I was just like, I'm just as amazed as you are that I was able to get it all out. And I'm grateful to Amazon for publishing it for me. And, of course I did that myself. It was through Kindle Direct. And
did you have like anybody edit it and stuff? Like
no, I did all of it.
Wow.
It's been a self-love project.
How long did it take you start to finish to write it?
It took me about a month.
Huh.
Because I would stop and go back to it because some of those memories are painful.
Fuck, yeah.
So I would have to walk away from it for a moment or
That makes
two
sense.
and be like, I just need a day or so. And then I had a little help from my friend Jack Daniels. So I'd pour a little bit in a cup and I'd go back to it, and just to try to get through it. But I made it through it and it's out there, and I still can't believe that I sold as many copies as I did and that people are still buying it. It's like I was so afraid. I think everyone when they do anything is afraid of failure. Mm-hmm. But, I'm grateful. Yeah. But getting it out there even further is the bigger deal. I've actually been asked by the Trans Ohio Alliance to speak at their symposium.
How cool.
In Cincinnati this year on the book. So I'm doing this all myself. I've reached out to people and it's like I said, whoever bites, that's where you go.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing.
That is cool.
Yeah, thank you. So I really, it's crazy to think that I lived through, and this is a surreal moment, you know what I'm saying? I never really imagined myself getting this far with it, I guess you could say, but it's
it
like
being
the book.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I never thought, because I thought, I'm going to start it, and it'll sit in that computer for years, and I'll never finish it.
Yeah.
But I did. Like I said, you evolve as a person and you grow. And so as I started to get more confident. You know, I've been getting straight A's in college, and I got more confident. I'm like, why can't I? Same question I asked myself 20 years ago. Well, why can't you? I had to ask myself that again. So it's like when they say history repeats itself, they're not lying.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. It's repetitive.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask anything that you'd like to know about the book
For
in
sure.
particular.
I would like to revisit, like, so you talk about just, like, the church experience, right? Like, explain that for me, or explain that to me growing up, like, how that was for you.
Church was a big deal in my dad's side of the family. Now, my dad had passed away 3 days before my first birthday. So on his deathbed, his mother had made a promise to him that she would make sure she helped bring me up. So her children were brought up in the church. Naturally, she thought that her grandchildren needed to be brought up in the church, which was fine. Don't get me wrong, I loved my dad's mother. I did. But it was complicated. Like I said in the book, there were moments like when my uncles weren't around, we were the best of friends. We did, I would go to the river with her and help her get vegetables, and we would plant in the garden. And I mean, my grandma taught me so many things, but it was just awful that we had to do it behind their back. You know what I'm saying? Because I just did not fit into that version of their American dream.
You did a very great job describing, like, the slow drip. It's like it's the fucking look, and it's the tone, and it's the just, like, sharp little things that are just like, I know what you're trying to do. And then, like, weaponizing that against the grandmother, and then you just being like, I don't fully blame her, like, I understand it. But, like, just all of that. Like, that was very...
And I told her that years later.
That's good.
I said, Grandma, I don't blame you. Not fully. I said, you played an active role in it. But you've lived under the thumb of abusive men your entire life. This is what you know.
Yeah.
And I said, and I feel bad for you. Like, and I did. And it wasn't, like, I wasn't there when she passed away because my uncles were there, and my aunt was her caregiver, and I said, if you make them leave for like 10 minutes, I will come. And that may sound cold-hearted, but nobody understands what these people put me through. I was left out of so much, and I was made to feel like I wasn't even a person. Like, I was just this thing that they could not stand, that they just wanted to hide, And I believe if it had been the 1800s, they'd lock my ass in the attic if they had a chance.
That's crazy you say that because, like, I've been watching these, like, old English shows, like Rain and Bridgerton. It's, like, all, like, older days, and, talking about living underneath the control of a man. It's like these women couldn't have bank accounts, like, they're, like, it's just... I mean, it is a repercussion of that. Like, you just don't want to think back to, like, King's age, like, this is how shit worked, and, like, that just echoes into the current world, but it's exactly what you're talking about. Like, I have seen, like, not my own grandparents, but I've seen, like, sets of, like, maybe grandparents or great-grandparents' age that are like that, just, like, very, just, like, there is no question of authority. Like, somebody makes the decisions for, you know what I mean? So... Again, like, there's just so many things you said that I was just like, fucking, there's no way to dispute. Like, yes, you're right.
And, like I told you during our discussion earlier, we would go to church and immediately, they would get in the car, light up cigarettes, and talk about people in the congregation. And I'm like, to me, you're being taught these things by this pastor, and they're in my ear saying, that's the way you live. You abide by the Bible. This is what you do. Okay, well, you're not, so what the hell? I'm sitting there as a kid like, what are you doing? Like, this isn't real, And so it's like I learned that, like I say in the book, I prayed, and I still pray, And they just, one time they found out I prayed, and they just was, aghast. And I said, look, just because me and God don't see eye to eye, or, all the time doesn't mean we don't talk every now and then,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that's what everybody should do. Like I said, I'm not here to convince you of anything, but that's what I do,
Mm-hmm.
And there have been times when I prayed for something and I got it. And so I thought, if that really was an answered prayer, if I'm not supposed to be the way I'm supposed to be, God wouldn't have answered it.
And sometimes just
saying?
there's this one really powerful analogy that I heard that was like, I asked God for like to stop the pain, and he killed my mom, and now like I can't feel anything worse than that. So like maybe he answered my prayer. Maybe it wasn't the answer I asked for, but it was the result is that I can't be hurt anymore because I've experienced a pain greater than anything else. And so it's just like that too, like that you have to be very open-minded to consider the possibility that if you ask for the answer and don't listen for it, you won't. You know what I mean? So it's very hard.
God does answer your prayers. It's just sometimes it's rarely the answer you're looking for.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
That was a hard lesson to learn too. You know what I'm saying? Oh, go ahead. Sorry. No. I was gonna say during the chapter that I talk about the assault, I prayed. You see what I'm saying? I prayed, and I just was like, just let me live. That was it. That was all I want. I don't care about anything else. Just let me get the hell out of here. And the girl I went to school with being there at that exact moment, that's what I'm talking about. Divine intervention. And it can happen for anyone, but you got to believe it. Yeah. And I was just like, it wasn't so much that I believed that my prayers were going to work, but it was me believing in myself that I was going to live. I was like, I'm going to live. I am not going to die out here. And I could have very easily. Yeah. Oh, don't think I didn't think about it. I thought about just staying there, just laying there and just not whatever. But I was like, if I do that, they win. Mm-hmm. And my nature doesn't permit such weakness. And, not everyone is as strong as me. I have people that have told me, we crave your strength. That's why we love having you around, because you're so strong. And I'm like, well, you don't really know what strength is until you're not really given any other choice. Then you learn. Inside of you, you learn that there is something inside of you that is stronger than anything you could ever imagine. Yeah. And it's tapping into it.
It's like that's what we were talking about, like courage. Like there is no bravery without like extreme fear. If there was nothing to be afraid of, then what? Like how is it courageous to? You know what I mean? Like if you're just frolicking in the garden and everything's cool, it's like you don't have to be brave to do that.
No.
Like to face fear, like that. I mean that is, and again, that's why I think that the book resonated with me. It's just like it's clear that it is the truth. It's a hero's arc. You know what I mean? Like it's just like here are these things and fuck all these things. I'm still here, bitch.
And I never thought of myself as a hero. My friends always used to say, "Girl, you're a shero." No, I'm not. I'm a survivor. Yeah. I survived it. I endured it, and I'm a boss. That's just who I am. I don't give up. I'm a very tenacious person. So it's like when I say I'm going to do something or I set my mind to it, I do it. And so the book was something I really set my heart on. I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I have to do this. Not only for me, but, it's like, and even if anyone's listening, you're not alone. I am that hand in the dark that people need. And I've noticed it through actions that I've done for others, and that they would tell me, bitch, you saved me and you didn't even know it. Getting them out of abusive relationships, talking them out of things like that, or helping them, like I told you, through deaths and stuff like that. They're like, we needed you, and you didn't even realize you were healing us at the same time, because I don't look at myself that way. I'm a very humble person. Like my mom brought us up that no one owes you shit. You know what I'm saying? So anything you want, you have to get it. Like, I do believe fairy tales come true, but you got to put the work in. Yeah. If you don't work for it, it's not, faith without work is dead. And I've heard that my entire life. And so.
Shout out to Grandma.
Shout out to Grandma. Yeah. She always said that to me. Faith without work is dead. And I used to just giggle about, and I never got it until I was older. And then I was like, damn, that's true.
Spitting some fire.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah. So. And it's hard work, and I think the hardest part wasn't writing, because I've always been real good at English, and I'm very articulate, as you can tell. And so it's never been wording or being able to write. It's the memories. the feelings that it brings back up. It's like things I've pushed down. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
And
it gets
like,
pressurized as fuck. Yeah.
and it's down there, and that's where I keep it, because it's like you can't live there like that. Yes, all these things happened to me. This is a piece of my past, but I don't live there. It doesn't define me. That's not, that girl there is not the girl I am, or the woman that I am now.
Heard.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I intend to do great things, and I always felt like I was destined for greatness. Some people might call me uppity or snooty, but it's not. It's a confidence. It's a knowing that one of these days, and in my future, I always picture myself wealthy and successful, but there was never a man or there was never children there. But that's just me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and it's because I've been burned. Relationships are not easy for people like me, and I'm sure anyone that is like me that's listening is shaking their head in agreement.
How even today, like how does a traumatic event like that, like how does that impact your life? Like, are there still times that it just like comes up out of nowhere and you're like, where the fuck did this come from? Like how have you managed this over the years?
How have I dealt with the assault, with the trauma?
Or just like how does it show itself in daily life? Like is it something that is coming up on a daily basis for you that you're consistently having to like shuck away, or is it something that like maybe it goes away? And I don't want to say like you forget about it.
You always look over your shoulder.
Yeah, like when you said that, like you went to to the thrift stores and you were like looking for the shoes, like that.
Just to see if they would ever come back.
As traumatizing as the fucking, like, to be in that mind state where you're like, I'm in a thrift store 4 years later still looking for, like,
I still look.
That sounds like
just
purgatory.
It's like, but it's not a torture. It does sound like torture.
To me it does.
But it's like, for me, that's a closure moment.
Interesting.
Because it's like, that's the one piece of me they took that I didn't get back. I got my dignity back. I disposed of the clothing I had. I erased that part. But that was the one piece I didn't get back. And so for me to get it back and destroy it means, I just released that negativity, that energy.
Have you ever thought about like buying a pair of shoes with the intention of releasing that? Like, it's like I'm going to understand that I may not find that, but what I would like to do is complete this ceremonially for myself, for nobody else, with the door shut and the blinds closed. Like, I don't need to tell it.
Oh, I've made my peace with it.
Yeah,
that's good. It's just really a curiosity, I guess. It's just like, because if they would, I don't know, if they would ever pop up, but if they did, it's like, there it is, and then I get them back, and that's finally the last piece of me I get back. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? It completes the circle. But, I protected their identity, even though they tried to take mine, because no child most of them have children now, no child deserves to grow up and know what kind of monster their parent is or what they're capable of. You know what I'm saying? It's
a bit of mental gymnastics in there, but I understand.
Some people
what you're
may
saying.
disagree,
yeah.
and they may say you should because they do, but that's not my place.
It also, like, what does that do for you? How does it change your life to say that? I don't know. I could see both ways.
For me, it's taken the high road. You may have done this, but I will not give you one more second of airtime.
Yeah, because guess what? When they lay their fucking head on the pillow every night, they know. They know.
I'm not going to allow them to be some kind of goddamn Heath Ledger Hollywood villain household name. I won't give you 1 second of airtime. Yeah. You took enough from me. Right. And that's the way, some of them have apologized to me throughout the years.
Whoa. How was like that for you? Like to like pick up the phone and see like that person's name. Like what was that experience like?
It's like, oh fuck.
You just get hot flash and you start fucking sweating and you're like,
you just see it and you think to yourself, oh fuck. What could they possibly want?
But by the way, that's for them, not for you. They were apologizing for them fucking selves, not for fucking anything that has to do with it.
Well, and I trump their ace because I tell them, they think they're nickel slick, but I got your penny change. Because I've always been.
I don't know what that means.
It just means I've always been smarter than them fucking hillbillies. You know what I'm saying? If anyone's listening, I know I love y'all, but I have always been fucking smarter than you. So it's like, you can't help but bite. You're like, okay, what could you possibly want? And they'll say, we're sorry for what we did to you, or I'm sorry for what I did to you. It was wrong. I was young. I was following along. And I said, and they're like, I was just a kid. And I said, so the fuck was I. Fuck. So the fuck was I. I was a kid too. And you took that from me. And I said, we were all kids. I mean, we were teenagers, but we were still children. And I said, you know what? I forgave you a long time ago. And you have to. Because if somebody does something awful to you and you don't forgive them, like I told you, the rot. It starts a rot. And it festers inside of you. And so many people in the world are miserable because they've let the rot consume them. You have to let that shit go. That incident does not define me. It forged me. It was just one part of it, And I don't want applause or pity or anything, because I come from an irrelevant town on an irrelevant street, with a mother who did not bestow me a title, just good sense and grit and hard work. And that's all I can really say, and that's the way it's always been. If I ever wanted anything in life, I made it happen. And so this book was something I wanted, and I just really want people to read it. And if it resonates, like I said, with you in any way, then I've done what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Have you thought about maybe trying to get some copies to take to all of the libraries and stuff like that?
I have actually. There is a copy at the Gloucester Library. Cool. I did a book signing there. Oh. Let's see, when was that? Last month. Toward the end of the month, I did a book signing. I give them. They ordered a copy for their own thing, and then the end of this month, the 21st, I'm going to the Horror Con in Cincinnati, and I'm doing a photo shoot with the Elvira herself.
I don't know who that is.
Elvira, Mistress of the Dark? You don't know who Elvira is? Oh, how young are you, sweetie?
28.
Oh, okay, well, that's it. Look up Elvira. She is basically the gothic Dolly Parton. But she was a big star in the 80s, and she had her own late-night television show where she would, play... it was kind of like a Tales from the Crypt type thing. But she was the Mistress of the Dark, and she presented these scary stories. Anyway, she's also an author, and I have a copy of the book for her that I've already inscribed, and I'm going to give it to her.
That's beautiful.
So, you never know. You just never know, but that's good strategy and marketing. And like I say in the book, I took fashion marketing and design, so this is all stuff I've been trained to do. I know what to do. Yeah,
which is bringing some things back to me now. Like you talked about, like accelerating through high school, but even before that, this was really heavy for me to read about. You talked about not wanting to be home. If you could maybe just take that where you'd like.
I sure can. My mom went through a damn midlife crisis or something to that effect. She decided she was going to date a younger man. My mom was in her 40s, and this man was 25 years old. And I just can't. I love my mom to death, but that man was a no-good drunk who never did no good for nobody. And he did not like me because I could smell the bullshit in his pockets even if she couldn't.
Yeah.
And I've always been that type of person. I can tell you within the first 5 seconds of meeting you whether I like you or not.
Do you like me?
Yes, of course.
Nice. Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, absolutely. I would have done left. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm very much just me. And so I'm unapologetically me. And if I didn't think that I could do it, I wouldn't be sitting here. But yes, you're a very good person.
Cool.
And the work that you do is great, and you get your message out there to people, and you represent local people that are doing things, and I just think that that's great because there's a lot of us out there that, can't play for the Cincinnati Bengals that
Yeah.
don't get the recognition that we deserve, you know?
Sorry to distract you. So
No.
again, right? Your mom has this significant other.
He was very abusive, and he did not like me at all. We just didn't get along. So my friend F, she was like, come over one day and play basketball. This girl was a little rough around the edges. She was on house arrest, and, I had never been in trouble. I'd never been exposed to nothing like that. But I liked her, and she was nice, and she was funny, and she was the kind of tough that didn't need to be told.
Yeah.
You just knew.
Yeah.
And until that point, I was kind of weak, so I needed someone strong.
Kind of navigated towards that energy. Yeah.
So I went over and we played basketball outside her house because she couldn't leave the house. She was on house. And so we played basketball one night, and then we went inside and ate ramen noodles, and I just kind of never left. Her grandma knew my family, and she knew my mom. And so, she didn't really question it at first. And then, I don't know, I had been staying there with them for a couple months, and it was like I went to school from there. Now, my mom would bring me everything I needed, and she would, help Shirley out with groceries.
See,
and
but
stuff
that's
like
fucking crazy because it's like she knows why you're not there, but it's like, at least she helped you somewhere else. But like, just for that mental gymnastics of
I
like,
told her,
my
I said,
child
I love you, but I can't.
Yeah.
And
well, good for standing up
I
for
just
yourself.
told her, I said, you're being stupid for dick. You need to throw the son of a bitch out. Yeah. And I'm sorry. I know that sounds bad. And
I cuss all the time. I don't give a fuck. Yeah.
Some people might be clutching their pearls, but that was the truth. And I told her, and everyone around her told her, but she didn't, And I thought, well, maybe this is something she has to learn on her own.
Heard.
Same as me.
That's a lot of grace. Like, that's a lot of forgiveness to your mom.
My mom is my best friend. She raised me and my sister on her own with no help from nobody, and then took care of her sick and dying parents on top of that. So I have mad respect for the woman that raised me, and I'd pick her to be my mom again in every lifetime. The fact of the matter is, we're all human. We all fuck up. Yeah. She was fucking up, and I just had to let her do it. You know what I'm saying? He didn't bother my sister. So she was fine. Yeah. I didn't have to worry. But my way of surviving it was staying out of its reach because I just couldn't take it. Yeah. Like, my nerves, I could not physically take it. I did not like getting off the bus every day not knowing what I was going to walk into.
Yeah, it's like it shows a lot of self-awareness for you to be assessing these things at a young age. And then again, like, that's,
I was 13, 14
I'm
years
sure
old.
It wasn't an easy decision.
Oh, he put me in jail? I didn't put that part in there. Okay. But because I didn't want people to think that I'm not some kind of criminal, but this man abused us daily. And, there were points when I couldn't stay with F. You know what I'm saying? When they had their own stuff going on, holidays, things like that. Eventually, it got to the point where her grandma asked me, and I told her, and they never made me leave again until I was ready. But in the beginning, I'd go home for holidays and stuff, and, like, he'd drag us around by the hair of our head. He busted a 20-gallon fish tank I had all over my floor. I mean, it was just really bad.
It's terror. Yeah.
Terror, yeah. And I'm like, I will not live this way. And I looked at my mom one day and I said, I'm not you. We're a lot alike, but I'm not you. Mm-hmm. And I can't do it.
It was like another way. So maybe I'm messing these dots, but so like, is that the same time that you started like accelerating your coursework? Was that also just like a means of like activating your mind so that you had some more things?
I wanted to grow up as fast as I could. So I started taking on the double classes at my local high school, and I wanted to go to Tri-County because I knew they treated you as an adult there, and it was like going to work, and I just wanted to get the hell out of there. I didn't know how long that was going to last. Mm-hmm. It lasted 6.5 years. Mm-hmm. I dealt with that. But he put me in jail because he one day was just on his shit, and I come home, and he's being abusive, and he's slinging us around, and I said, I'm leaving, because he had yanked the phone out of the wall, and I said, I'm going to get the police, I'm leaving. He went and took my car keys and ran outside and then dangled them at me in front of the window. And, there's only so much a person can take.
For sure.
And I just fucking snapped. And I grabbed a knife and I went out there and I just threw it at him. And because I thought the only way I'm going to get rid of you is to kill you. And that's terrible. Yeah. I'm 16 years old. That's the kind of trauma that I've been through that has shaped me. And I went to jail. They asked me, and they said, "Did you throw it?" Yeah, hell yeah, I did. They said,
Say it with your chest.
Yeah,
I appreciate you being honest
so
about
if you're
that.
going to take me, take me. I wanted to go. I had to get the fuck away from him. I wanted to go. That's
crazy.
awful.
That's
how
fucking-
bad it was. I wanted to go. So I said, yes, please take me. And then when I get to JDC, there's this man there. I still to this day don't know what his name was. Everybody called him Grandpa because he was old. But he would go around and kick the doors. And he'd say, "Get up, motherfuckers." And for me, I'd never been exposed to nothing like, so he never kicked my door. Everybody else, yeah, never kicked my door. He'd bang on it. Just wham, one good time. And I'd get up. Well, one day he pulls me off the side and he says, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What the fuck are you doing in here?" And I said, "Why? I did something wrong, so I'm in jail." And he's like, "You don't belong in here. You're not like these other motherfuckers." That's how he said it. And I'm just like taken aback, because I can't believe. And I'm like, okay. He said, He said, "I'm going to send a note down there to the judge and basically demand that you be released. You don't belong in here."
So you said JVC. What is
JDC. That's
what is-
Juvenile Detention Center.
I see. Okay.
And it's in Lancaster.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
where it was, And I mean, it was like, it's scary as hell, I'm 16 years old. I was in jail, but in any storm, there is always a silver lining. I got to talk with the boys, and they put me in the boys' ward because I was, and so
You hadn't even come out as a woman by this point,
I
right?
was like starting
Okay.
to transition. So
Gotcha.
it was like my hair was like shoulder length, but I wasn't fully there yet.
Yeah.
And so, I spoke with those boys and we'd play cards together. They taught me how to play cards because, I was not from the places these boys was from. And they would ask me about me, and I would say, "Oh, I got a driver's license, I have a car." They'd say, "You got a driver's license?" Yeah, I got a driver's license. "You got a car?" "Man, I wish my folks loved me enough to give me a car." And all of a sudden, it made me realize
How fucking
insignificant I really was. That there was people out there that had it so much fucking worse than I did. And it broke my heart because I thought, oh, I'm privileged. But I didn't feel like I was any better than they was. They were young kids just like me that had been dealt a shitty hand.
Yeah.
Why, and then you start to question yourself, what makes me different? It's almost like survivor's guilt. You question yourself, why? Why do I have these things? And then, it all comes back to my mom worked hard and didn't do drugs and stuff, and most of these kids did not have that. Mm-hmm. They didn't have that structure and stability. So that was why
Shout out to
I
Mom.
had a little bit more than most. I didn't have everything I wanted, but I had everything I needed. And, having a car at 16, that's a privilege. It is. And so I knew that.
Yeah.
And, but it was also freedom. I couldn't jump out of bed fast enough on the weekends. I had driving school because I could get away from him.
Yeah.
And so, but when he did send a note down to the judge, back to what I was saying. And when I went to court, the judge looked right at me and he said, "I'm going to ask you one time, and I want you to be completely honest with me." And I said, "Okay." He said, "Why did you do what you did?" And I said, "Because he is abusive." And this man's in the courtroom right behind me. I said, "He is abusive. I have been trying to tell Gloucester police that he's abusive. No one will listen to me." And so I felt in that moment that the only way I could get rid of him for good was to kill him. I said, "Was that wrong of me?" "Oh, yeah." I said, "That's
the honesty. That's so hard to admit.
I said
that
was not the right decision." That's why, and I knew it. And I said, that was not the right decision. I said, "I'm not crazy. Like he's going to make you out to believe." He had wrote a deposition to the judge saying that I was a danger to myself and everyone else and that I should be committed indefinitely into a facility because he just did not want to deal with me.
Yeah.
If I was out of the way, he had full control. I was the wrench in the way. And so I just told the judge, I said, "I'm going to tell you this. I'm sorry, But unless you make him leave, you just go ahead and send me right back on up the road. I said, they're nicer in there to me than I get treated at home, so I don't want to go back if he's going back. And that judge looked at my mom and he said, that man is entirely the problem. And if you want your child back and us not to take the other one, you will remove this man from your home because he is a danger to you and your children based on what I've heard. And so...
Did that wake her up?
Oh, yeah. They threatened losing her kids would have been my mom's greatest failure.
Yeah.
And so
there's no doubt
that was
around
it. But that was after like 6.5 years,
Yeah.
Started when I was 13 and I was 16 years old. She might have brought him back once. And I said, if you don't deal with it, I'm taking Amber and I'm leaving. And you won't find us. Because back then we didn't have cell phones and stuff. Say I could have gotten that car and disappeared. She'd never know where we was. Until years later when social media developed. She would have never found us. And my sister was ready to go too because she just couldn't take it. What he was doing to my mom. She couldn't take it. He didn't bother her. Yeah. But the abuse that he inflicted on our mother was too much to bear. And I do feel guilty that I left her there. That's my greatest shame in life. Was leaving her. But
you can only
if I didn't, I wouldn't have survived it. I don't think I'd have survived it. He would have found a way to have me put away indefinitely. And I'm not crazy by any means. I'm funny and I'm a good time, but I'm not crazy. And to have to sit and tell a judge that, when you're a child, I'm not crazy, is a whole nother level of anxiety and stuff, because this person literally holds your future in your hand. I didn't want to go back to jail, but if that was the only alternative of going home with him, I was going to take it.
Yeah.
I hated that, but it is what it is. I owned up to it. I did what I was supposed to do. I was on house arrest and probation, and when I turned 18, all that stuff was poof. It's gone when you turn 18. Yeah. So, I was glad I did stupid shit when I was underage and not as an adult. Because they had me charged with felonious assault. And they dropped it back. Wow. They dropped it way back. Dropped it down to something that was like a misdemeanor. I don't even remember what it was. Mm-hmm. Disorderly conduct or some shit like that. But it was a humbling moment. Mm-hmm. And I told the judge that. I said, to be in jail with those other boys, it absolutely shattered my heart. Because I realized that I've had more privilege than most. And, I want to give back. I don't want to sit in a jail cell for the rest of my life. I want to give back. But, I can't, it's unsafe with him. I can't. And, the judge just couldn't believe it. It was just an unloading. My mom was a very keep our business to ourselves type of person. Yeah. And then it's just like emotional vomit. It could just all come out because I just couldn't take it anymore. And I thought, this is the only person in the world that's going to be able to help me. Someone that has authority over everybody in the room. Yeah. And so he did. That judge saved my life.
Shout out to that judge.
He did. He saved my life. And then after he was gone, I was able to prosper. And I just kept
And so that's when you get out, that's when you, not long after, you would have been enrolling into the fashion and design thing. And I really liked the way that you explained that. You were you said you walked in with dressed to the nines and feeling incredible, and then you went from believing that you had to be hidden to with some type of elected position in this
I was vice president. Yeah, of the class.
So how empowering,
It was amazing.
I felt like I came home and just all of it, that was a really beautiful little excerpt about kind of beginning.
I found my niche in the world, and it's when you're in high school, you got to try to find your niche, and I felt, how do I want to say, liberated. At Tri-County, they made me feel grown.
That's awesome.
And that summer, before I had started, I had a summer job. My mom worked at a local dry cleaners here in Athens, and she had gotten me a summer job. And so I made my own money for the first time in my life. And so she saved it for me. And then at the end, right before school started, she took my last check and what she had saved, took me to the Lancaster Mall and said, you go get your clothes. And I said, can I buy whatever I want? Because I had never been allowed. She said, you earned the money.
That's so fucking
and I
sick,
just,
man.
Wham, I was gone. I mean, Debs, first up. That was it. And it was just all business attire because, like you see now, even I have my blazer on over top of my dress. I'm very much professional, like, and I'm very much a lady. And so I carry myself the way I want. Dress for the job you want, right? I know. Never
You
be the
did say
Queen of
that
England.
in your book, you were like, I could be the president. Why not? Fuck it.
Well, I can't be the Queen of England, so president's going to have to do.
It made me chuckle. It made me chuckle. Yeah.
But I'm serious about that. Now, I know that's a lofty ambition, and I know a lot of people are probably thinking, yeah, right. But you don't know the fire that burns in me.
Yeah,
And
I don't think you should let anyone tell you can't do anything.
No, I'll never let fear clip my wings and tell me how high I can fly.
Yeah.
Ever. Never. That's never been an option. And so, you know, I'm not political. I don't get political, but we are in a shit show right now. And what the country needs is a bitch like me that's cleaned up after people their entire life to go in there and clean it up. You know what I'm saying? He can have his tantrum for the next 3 years, but I'm going to be honing my craft in that time. And I intend to branch out in politics eventually. But first, I'd like
Going
to be
the
a
legal
lawyer.
route. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I want to own a boutique law firm ran by women for women that get women like out of messy divorces and unfair prenuptial agreements and things like
the
that.
The tyranny of the shit that you're talking about, like your grandma. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and yeah, like that's really awesome.
That's always been a thing of mine. And you know, I thought if I'm good at it, why wouldn't I be good at politics? You know, I was on debate team and stuff in school, and that was one thing I did like. Like, there were parts of school that I liked. I painted it out, but most of it was bad. I mean, so that's why in the book most of it is not a pleasant experience, but there were teachers and there were people that made a difference along the way, and they know who they are. Like my fashion teacher, love her to death. Still to this day, we're friends.
That's awesome.
Love her. Oh. We didn't always see eye to eye.
Really?
Yes, but Miss G saw the world through a very similar lens that I did. You see what I'm saying? If she hadn't been born a real woman, she'd have been a drag queen. And that's just the way it is. Yeah. But I love her with my whole, she taught me so much. Underneath all of that was this brilliant businesswoman, and it was just amazing because, you know, Miss G would always do the eyelashes and the nails, and she knows I love her, so it's okay. She won't be mad, but she knows.
It's funny because I just had tried counting on literally yesterday,
and I love her so much. I just cannot, you know, give her enough credit. And she did teach me a lot about fashion. Like she would say, you're either born with style or you're not. And I was born with it, but she taught me how to find my own specific style.
That's cool.
And so, you know, I learned a lot, but like I said, underneath all that was this brilliant businesswoman. And I just thought, oh my God, the places you could have gone, that you could have done, but she chose to pass her knowledge on to younger minds. And that's admirable in itself.
Hell yeah.
You know, so
it's giving back, man.
Yeah. And so I try to give back. That's just what that's what I do as well. I try to give back the best I can. This book is my best piece of giving back. It is a light in the dark when most people need it.
Yeah. You know, I'm starting to blend what we talked about off there and on there. Have we talked about the 8th grade talent show yet?
I don't think we
did either.
We can.
Yeah, that was like another, that was really fun for me. I think that was the first just like peak, maybe, I don't want to say like the first like positive thing, but it was like just a lot of like, hey, here's the reality of what my shit was. But that part of the book was really fun for me to read. If you would like to talk about that. And it was
really fun to write it. That was and I should have brought the picture to show you. I have a picture, one picture left, because back then we had camcorders, nobody had phones. So I cannot get a recorded version of that to save my life. But my guidance counselor, I was bullied a lot in school. So, you know, the school's course of action, of course, is send you to the guidance counselor and tell them your problems. But it actually turned out that I loved her. And she was just one of the most interesting. She was an art teacher as well. So art teachers, you know how they are. They're very eccentric. And I'm very eccentric in a way myself. So I'm like, I like her, you know. But she was, I felt like the first person that listened to what I had to say and understood and gave me real life, not sugar-coated, but real life feedback, you know. And I asked her one time, I said, what's wrong with me? Why am I like this? And she said, there's nothing wrong with you. You are this way because you are transsexual. And I had never heard that term in my life.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. And
Well, that makes sense. This is like
I was young.
mid-90s?
Yeah, I was eighth
Yeah.
grade. I was 13 years old. And I said, well, can you elaborate a little bit on that? And she's like, yeah. And she explained to me, you are a woman, but you're trapped in the wrong body. That's what it is. That's what the medical definition of it is. And it clicked. And then, it was like okay, now I have something. I can run with this. I can research the hell out of this and see if it's really me. And the more research I did into it, it was me. And I was like, these are all the things that I have felt for so many years. But I just was the gay kid.
Is it identification with the gender that is the difference? Because, like, for example, right, like if there was a drag queen is not a transsexual because they do not identify as a woman. Like, they identify as a male that is cross-dressing as a female. Is that the difference?
I can break it completely down.
I'd appreciate that.
Okay, so a drag queen or a cross-dresser is a straight man that, more than likely a straight man, that puts, or could be a bisexual man, that puts on women's clothes for a sexual thrill, for some sort of gratification. Okay, a gay man is a man.
Yeah.
They're okay with it. They don't mind being a man. They go to the gym. They dress like men. They cut their hair like men.
It's like physically attracted to men.
Yeah, but they are physically attracted to men. Transsexuals are basically like, I feel like I'm a woman that's been zipped into the wrong skin. But not anymore, because I took Joslyn from the inside and projected her outward, and what you see sitting before you is who I really am, like now.
Yeah.
But it's hard, because it's like, it's easy to say, I'm gay and just be gay. But it's a whole lot harder to tell your family and friends, I'm not gay, but I want to be a woman. You see what I'm saying? That was hard back then.
Yeah.
Not now. It's probably not. It's more mainstream, but back then that was hard to do. So that's more like you got to find yourself. And then a drag queen is a gay man that has too much fashion sense for one gender. So they just do drag for entertainment. They like it. And it is very lucrative if you're good at it.
Yeah.
So and most gay men are good at sewing, and they like the sequins and stuff. And that is how they express their feminine side.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the night, they take all that shit off and go home to their boyfriends and their men. You know what I'm saying? They live that way and they go to work that way. But, when it's time to go perform, they go in the dressing room and they really give it their all. But as for me, this isn't a wig. This isn't, like I said, I never wanted to be taken as a joke. I don't go home at night and take my hair off and set it on the dress. I, roll it in rollers and go to bed. And I'm just like every other red-blooded American woman. I want all the same things that regular women want. But it's like you spend your entire life watching everyone around you get everything that you want. Marriage, children, baby showers, wedding showers, all this stuff. And you can't be jealous. You have to be grateful and supportive. And I always have been. Like, I've always been there. And I'm always like, congratulations. I show up with a dish, a gift. I show up to the weddings. I show up to the baby showers. It's hard to watch somebody get everything, that you want and not be a little
envious
about it. Yeah. But you can't be, because it's like love comes to those who believe it. And you can't be jealous of someone else's success and happiness, because then that just compromises your own. And
it's
so,
also like a comparison. You know what I mean? It's like a good idea is like when you were younger, like thinking that you need to be famous, right? Like comparing yourself to these people.
Oh, I was going to be one of the greats.
Yeah, but then you grow up, get older, and you're like, oh, really? What I wanted was to be like accepted and respected by people, and I believe famous people were that. So so this lady, this guidance counselor, kind of is explaining to you for the first time transgender. How long before that in the talent show?
Okay, so this all basically was like in the same year. I really started, I had met with her a couple times the year previous in 7th grade, but it wasn't really, I kept a lot of it to myself. Yeah. by the time 8th grade rolled around and 7th grade whooped my ass, I said, oh, I'm telling somebody everything. So I just started unloading to her all
Was this
the
the first
things
person
that I had ever
Wow,
unloaded to, other than
shit.
the 3 kindred spirits I talked about that were my
That's
was
right,
my
that's right.
sisterhood, you know. And one of them is my beloved B, and we're still best friends to this day.
Good.
And if she's listening, I love you, bitch, and she knows it. But anyway, she has been my biggest supporter, Brittany.
B. Well, who was that?
B.
Yeah.
Yeah, B. Sorry about that. I only would do that with people that wouldn't sue me. So if I succeed, we all do.
Yeah,
That's the thing. And so, you know, even people that help me along the way, like you, if I succeed, I'm not going to forget who put the stone down there for me to get started. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't forget. That's not who I am. And so that's why I think I've been able to maintain my friendships with them 3
that makes
that
sense.
long.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I had told that they knew because they were with me, so they kind of knew the stuff I went through. But the first adult that really listened to me was her. And, you know, I told her a lot of the stuff, and I'd cry and I'd be upset. And she would say, you know, you are so much better than that. And you have such potential in you. I know it. She saw something in me that I didn't. And so she sat me down one day and she said, you're going to sing in the talent show. My exact response was, the hell I am. And I giggled. And she said, no, you are. And I said, Miss C, no, I'm not. I said, are you trying to publicly humiliate me? Like, I was terrified at first. Like, when she said that, every hair on my body stood up. I was instantly terrified because I had been bullied for so long. And I thought, oh, I'm just asking to get tomatoes thrown at me. You know what I'm saying? You just expect the word. She said, no, you're going to do it. I already put your name in the book. And I said, you didn't. And she said, I did. And she said, the only way you're going to get anywhere with these people, if you want them to respect you, you have to demand it. Now, you got to figure out what song you're going to sing. And I've always been a lover of music. You know, I listened to music with my grandma and all them, so I knew a lot of different music. And I was like, give me a couple days to think on it, and I'll let you know what I want to sing. And she's like, okay. So I was, you know, piddle-pissing around at Grandma's house one day, and Respect comes on the radio. And I said, that's it. That's it right there. But then I thought, oh, I can't do that because how am I going to go out there as a black woman in blackface? That's racist. I can't, you know, you can't do that because Aretha was a black woman. I said, I can't do that. And so I went to her and I said, this is the song I want to do, but I don't want to offend anyone. And she said, oh, honey, we'll just put some tan makeup on you and it'll be fine. We'll get you a wig and we'll style it like Aretha's hair. And it'll be fine. You'll be fine. She's like, you're impersonating. You're not. And I was like, okay.
Making a mockery of, or like, I'm surprised blackface was a thing back then. I mean, obviously I wasn't alive. It was always a thing when I was alive. But
it was like, I mean,
I could imagine it. Yeah.
I had never seen anyone do it, but I knew what it was, you know, and I knew that you were not supposed to do that. And so I was a little nervous. And so I told her, I said, well, the song I want to sing is Respect. She said, that's perfect. That's perfect. Perfect. And she said, I said, but what am I going to wear? And she said, I'll take care of that. And I said, okay. So my aunt, that was the hairdresser, I went to Grandma's. She lived with my grandma. I said, you know, hey, I'm going to do this talent show. Just stiff, all of them. Stiff as could be, and looked at me and like they couldn't believe what they were hearing. And I said, and I need your help. And I said, I need you to style my wig. She said, are you serious? And I said, yeah. Grandma didn't say anything.
Is this kind of the soft opening for them?
Kind of, yeah. This is, so my aunt says, get in the car, we're going to go to Walmart. So back then, Walmart had everything you could want. They had wigs and everything. It was really a super center then. They had everything. So we go there. We get a black wig, a Morticia Addams wig, and She takes me back to the shoes, and I got a pair of black pumps that I'll never forget. They were the shiniest black patent pumps. I can still see them that I'd ever had, and I loved them. And a pair of black pantyhose. And she said, on the night of, I'll do your makeup. I said, okay. She's excited. She was
so
excited.
Grandma doesn't know you're doing makeup and
Grandma
shit, right?
doesn't really take much interest in it.
Yeah,
My aunt kind of was like, whisked me away so she could say in the car, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And because she didn't want to get reprimanded.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, she did help. And so, you know, I go to school, and she calls me, the guidance counselor calls me to the office one day, down to her office. So I leave class and I go to her office. She says, I need you to try this on. And I said, well, what is it? And she says, this. And she opens up this cabinet, and it looked like a wardrobe, but it was a cabinet. And she opens this cabinet up, and inside is hanging the most beautiful purple sequin dress I had ever seen in my life. And I just cried. There was nothing else I could do. And I went over and I touched it, and I touched the fabric, and I knew that it was mine. And I knew that was the first dress I would ever have in my life, because this was before Tri-County.
Yeah.
And I just cried, and she said, well, put it on. Put it on. I said, where am I going to put it on? She said, right here, put it on. I'll step out. So she steps out, and I put it on, and it just, like I said, a lock clicked. But it was not like a lock locking. It was a lock unlocking.
Yeah.
And the way I felt standing there looking in the mirror in that dress was like, this is it. You're going to be somebody.
Yeah.
But this is the way it has to be. You're not if you don't do this. And it was a moment of looking at myself saying, do you want to be scared for the rest of your life? Or do you want to get out there and kick his motherfucker in the jaw?
Demand that fucking respect, man.
And so I decided to kick the motherfucker in the jaw, you know?
Yeah.
And so the night comes, and I'm scared to death. We're all in there, you know, we do the walk down the aisle thing and take our seat. You know, God love them. God love my classmates. But the talent show was rather boring. And it was dragging on. And people are like, you know, they're getting hot, and they're fanning themselves, and they're starting to talk amongst each other.
Get antsy, start moving around and
yeah,
shit.
because there's not like kids are playing instruments. Cheerleaders did Thriller. I mean, all the generic shit. And so everybody's like, well, about halfway through, I knew, because the guidance counselor's running the thing. So like our chairs are directly, like she can see us. So we have a little signal. She does her little finger thing, and I know that's my cue to get up and go. So I get up, and everyone's like, where are you going? I'm like, none of your damn business. Like, mind your business. And so, because I didn't tell,
right?
I told not a soul what I was doing for the talent show.
Other than your co-dancers.
Other than my backup dancers. Nobody knew what I was going to do, so everybody was just as scared and shocked as me. Yeah. So I go to her office. My aunt's already waiting.
Hell yeah.
I slip into the dress, the pantyhose, the shoes. She puts the wig on my head, and I'm hot and scratchy, and she does my makeup. And she looks at me as if she's looking at me for the very first time. And I just knew she was seeing me for real for the first time. And I didn't say anything. I was like, thank you. You know, I love you, thank you. Now get back out there to your seat. And I'm going to go around the corner. So I go around the corner to like where the side stage is, and I'm scared. I thought my knees were going to buckle. I kept telling the girls, I'm going to puke. I'm going to puke. They're like, no, you're not. You're not going to puke. I said, yes, I am. I'm going to puke. I got to run. I got to go. I can't do this. I can't do it. They said, bitch, we have practiced this dance for weeks. You kept us after school. You drug us here and made us dance, and you're doing it. And I was like, I can't do it. And it was like, you know, it was a moment of self-doubt, but it wasn't like, I knew I could do it, but I was afraid of the boos and I was like, oh God, I said, they're going to boo us off the stage. And my friend B, she says, you don't know that. You don't know that. Now, she spun me around. She said, now get your ass out there. And she pushes me. And that's as I'm being called. And I hear live from her world tour, Miss Aretha Franklin. So I go out. The girls come out right behind me. I'm scared. You know, I'm standing there, and I grab the microphone with both hands. Eventually I had one hand, but with both hands, I put both hands around the microphone. Just standing there, I take a deep breath, and the lights go down in the gym and come up behind me, and the music starts, and I don't know. It was
Blackout.
It was like I became a totally different person. It was like I said in the book, I borrowed a version of this woman now that I knew I was going to need, but I don't know how I did it. Mm-hmm. I can't explain it to you, but it was like, I just knew when the music started that I was like, it's now or never. You better hit that shit, and you better hit every note. And I just started to sing, and the girls are behind me dancing, and it goes in perfect sync, and everything's perfect, and we're getting it, and people are clapping along, and they're starting to stand up, clap, and because it's jazz, it's soul music, and then at the end, the music stops, and I thought, here we go. And it just erupts. The whole gym erupts. I mean, everybody's screaming. They're on their feet. They're chanting my last name.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah, and I'm in disbelief, solid disbelief. And I kind of was like in shock. And, B comes up behind me and she grabs my arm, pulls me off the microphone, kind of pulls me off the microphone, like, come on, it's time to go. And, and I just remember blowing a kiss. I was like, because I couldn't believe it. And Miss C comes around the corner and she said, when you're famous, I better get a mention. And I said, oh, you'll get more than a mention. And, she's no longer with us. And I loved her so much. But I would not be half the woman I am if it hadn't been for her. And the girls, finding a sisterhood is important. That is important. They shielded me from the ugly. You know what I'm saying? They did not let them boys pick on me.
Yeah.
They considered me one of their own, as if I had always been there. And they would just be like, oh, no, you can get busted in the eye, too. And then, when I met my friend F, she basically was like, I'm sick and tired of hearing you cry all the time. You're going to learn to fight. Or you're going to fight me. And I didn't want to fight her. Her arms was as big around as my neck. I said, I'll fight. Yeah. I'll fight, But you have to be tough. And that's the thing about it is, yes, the glass ceiling moment was wonderful. Some princesses have glass slippers. I had a glass ceiling.
Yeah.
But you got to be tough, too. It's not all glitter and sequins.
Certainly.
It is bloody noses and scraped knees and busted knuckles from fighting for your right to exist. Mm-hmm. I fought for my right to exist, which is something no human being should ever have to say, is that I had to fight to be able to live in this world. That's unfair as hell, but I did it, and anyone can do it, but you can't let people disrespect you. People only disrespect you as much as you allow it.
100%.
And I won't allow it.
Yeah.
It's like, if I'm going to talk to you and you expect me to be civil with you, you will be civil with me too. I don't expect people to accept me or understand, but just understand that I'm a human like you. You could take a pocket knife out and stick everybody in this room. We're all going to bleed the same color. Like, I'm no different. I'm still a person, but I'm just a person that has walked two paths in life. And, in most Indian cultures, Native American culture, they revere transgender people because they believe that they have the ability to see through the eyes of both male and female spirit. And I learned things like that along my way. I went to sweat lodges with real Indians. I lived. That's the thing. I never let fear clip my wings and tell me how high I could go. I wanted to experience everything. And, some people were a little uncomfortable with me at first, but you've met me. I'm like the most laid back person in the entire world. No one should be afraid of me. I am very much a dominating figure. I'm a very regal figure, but I'm not scary by any means. And that was the thing I wanted to show people was just because I may look a little different and do things just because my magic's a little different than yours doesn't make it any less real than yours.
100%.
And that was the message I always tried to show people was like, yeah, I'm different, but I'm human. I'm a real living, breathing, flesh and blood person, and so are you. And we're better united than divided.
Yeah.
And so, that's I want the book to unite people, and and be like, we can do it. We can make it, because the world has to change. The ugly has to stop somewhere. And I may just be one match, but one match can cause an entire explosion. So think about that.
It's just like hurt people hurt people. Like, I think about that. Like, when I was reading your book, like, for me, it's just like when I've been shitty to people, it's for sure that, and it doesn't even have to correlate. What I mean by that is, like, maybe it's just like whatever. One of your uncles liked, a flamboyant cocktail that was like a woman cocktail. It's like men drink whiskey and beer, and they really like this appletini, but they're so insecure about themselves that, it's like they project this, like, I can't like this, like, fucking stupid little appletini. And so then it's just like they have this discomfort in themselves that they can't express their full truth. And
they're afraid they might like it.
And so then it's like, exactly. So it's not even, it has nothing to do with you being a transgender. It's just like they see you being comfortable with yourself, and they see hurdles in front of their own selves that like they didn't do the hard work to fucking overcome. And so then, rather than reflecting on that hate inside of themselves that is getting spewed out to you and being like, where's that coming? It's just like, that's just, I mean, that's appropriated everywhere. Like, hurt people. And so it's just, that's what sucks. And
they also resented me because they were really close with my father. And all my life growing up, all I've ever heard is, if your dad was alive, you wouldn't be the way you are, because he would have killed you.
That's terrible.
And I know. I know it is. And, I grew up with that. That is what my dad's family would tell me. My grandma, my aunt, my uncle, they would all say that. And they still say that to this very day.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, you know what? No, he wouldn't have. Because I might be his child, but I'm my mother's child too. And I'm what you call a steel magnolia. I am very pretty to look at, but I'm tough as fuck on the inside. I had somebody call me a tough cookie one time at a party. They said, well, you're a tough cookie. I said, I am tough, but I am no cookie. I said, I'm as tough as I've needed to be. That's what's kept me alive all these years. Yeah. And that's the truth. And because most people would have broke under that kind of scrutiny and pressure. And for me, it was just ammunition. It was just, and I had been molested by a trusted adult when I was very young. And so I was kind of afraid of men for a long time. And so when my uncles would want to take me hunting or take me fishing, which was never really my cup of tea anyway, because like I told you, anything manly was foreign to me, when I said I didn't want to go, they took that personally. They didn't know what had happened to me, and I didn't tell anyone because I just didn't. I didn't tell anyone until I was 19 years old. I just kind of kept it to myself. And so they took it personally. So they were like, they just thought I didn't want anything to do with them, but it was so much deeper than that. I was afraid they were going to hurt me too, because I had trusted the person that did hurt me, and I could not trust anyone. Women were the only beings that had never hurt me. And so, can
I ask you a really uncomfortable question? Like, I'm really uncomfortable even asking this to you.
Yeah, of course.
Do you think that that could be being traumatized by a man?
Do you think I influenced me being trans?
It's was there the resentment towards men? I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know really what I'm asking.
No, I understand what you're saying. Did it influence my transition?
Did it make you not want to be a dude because you're like, I don't want to be anything like this fucking person that just travistated my life?
No, what it did was show me that even people that you trust will hurt you. But in life, you got to find the ones worth suffering for. And, that's a hard lesson to learn. That's a hard pill to swallow, learning that. I learned that anyone could betray you or hurt you at any time. So you must always be on guard. But I knew it wasn't my fault. Like, so no, because I feel like as I got older and went through puberty, I wouldn't have been attracted to men. I would have hated them.
Point. That's a good point.
I would have, you know what I'm saying, really hated them.
That actually makes all the fucking sense in the world. You're still attracted to them.
I still was attracted to them. But it's an awful thing because, you know, whenever you're intimate with someone, those tragic memories are still there, and they still come up from time to time. And I'm a grown woman, and this man's been dead for decades. And I still can't help but think of him sometimes when I'm intimate with him. And it's like that's the trauma that you suffer.
That's what I was asking about, like in your day-to-day.
It didn't influence my decision. It was still because I still wanted very much to be a woman. I still want a husband, and I still, you know, all those things, I still want them. It made me cautious and careful and sharp. And so, you know, it was, my grandpa saved me from that. I did tell my grandfather. He, whenever the person would want to come and get me, they would say, you know, I would throw a fit. And my grandfather started to kind of catch on. And he's like, why don't you want to go with so-and-so? And I'm like, I just don't want to go. He said, come out here with Grandpa in the garage. I said, okay. So my grandpa would work on aerator motors and stuff for people on the side. And, he said, no, I want you to tell Grandpa the truth. And, you know, this is a safe space, and I'm not going to say anything that you tell me. But I need you to tell me why you don't want to go with so-and-so. And I trusted my grandfather wholeheartedly. He was like the real, not in a weird way, but he was like the one real father figure I had, you know, that I could trust and that I looked up to. And I told him. And he said, and I was afraid because I thought, oh, he's going to kill him. And I'm going to live with that blood on my hands. He's going to go shoot this motherfucker. And I did not. And so I said, but you can't say anything. You can't. And he said, I'll tell you this. You'll never go with him again. I promise. And I said, okay. And every time he would come to get me, it was an excuse. Grandpa, no, I need him. We're going to go to Walmart, or we're going to go work in the garden, or I need him to help me mow grass. My grandpa didn't have any legs. He was a combat veteran, and so he had actually lost one of his legs, and then eventually gangrene got the other one, and so he didn't have any legs. And so he did need help with things, and my mom took care of him after her mother died, and my grandmother was very to the point, you know what I'm saying? Very black and white, like my mom and sister. I love my mom and sister to death, but they're very black and white people. They don't see the gray area. I live in the gray area, you see? So it's like diversity has shaped in my whole life. I grew up around it, but that's my purpose, to overcome diversity. And for years, I felt like I did that in Gloucester, and then I started to feel like, well, shit, I'm living on borrowed time. I've done what I come to do. What am I supposed to do? But then I realized, no, you ain't. You could overcome diversity on a much larger
Adversity
scale.
is what you mean, right?
Adversity, yeah. I'm like, you could overcome that on a much larger scale, hence the book. Then the book comes into formation, and I think, I'm not done. I'm just getting started. Like, you know, but I have had a really good start, and I've had a really good run so far. Like, and I don't regret it. I don't regret any of it.
It's beautiful. As a like comfortable woman now, do you still like is it in person that you get backlash, or is it like a lot of online shit that people are nasty to you? Like on your day-to-day life, like when you're just going about your shit, like are you facing like people that are just like,
believe it or not,
hey fag, like what's up? Like
no.
Yeah.
Believe it or not,
this is the answer that I was fucking hoping for, because I don't think it's that terrible. Like I don't know people that are like lit up and just like, these people can't exist. Like I've never met people that are just like that. It's just like, yeah, man, live your life. Like, I wasn't asking Joe, like, who he was fucking and how they fuck. You know, why would I?
Half of the MAGA cult are the ones in my DMs. Don't tell my wife. Let me come see you sometime.
That's
Let
weird.
me
That's
take you
weird.
out. And I'm like, I wouldn't let you fucking sniff it. Are you kidding me?
That's
you know what I'm
crazy.
saying? And you have to have respect for yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're after. Your self-respect. They're trying to take
Word.
it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They're trying to
I have
use
always
you.
been looked at like an exotic animal that needed to be dominated. Never tamed and kept by someone, but dominated, like a mountain that needed to be climbed. It's always been a conquer thing with me, and I think it's because I'm so confident in who I am, and I'm an imposing figure, and I think it emasculates men, kind of, to an
get what you're
extent.
saying.
Some men that are secure in their masculinity, I do not do that to. And I've met many men that are secure in their masculinity that are like, man, you're funny as hell. I'd hang out with you anytime. And these men are straight as a pin. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like that. And it's like I have friends that are straight men, and then I have straight men that chase after me. You know, and I've never been chased after by a gay man. Let that sink in.
You never been chased out?
Never. Because I'm not a man.
Wow.
So I'm not what they're looking for. Despite maybe having the part, they can't. It's too feminine for them. And so they're like, I can't.
That's
I
weird.
can't. Yeah. And it's almost like a paradox in itself. It really is. It's a paradox all on its own. And you know, but then the reason, like I said, that dating doesn't really work out is because they'll chase you and chase you and chase you and chase you. And then I'm very guarded. So I don't give in easy. But then I'll give in, and then they act like like they've committed some kind of personal shame. And it's your fault. And so then they just, you're gone. Ghost gone. They're gone. You don't know what the hell you did.
They're just trying to bury this thing that they're not ready to accept in themselves.
It's a curiosity thing. It's a ooh, what would happen if I climbed that tree?
Do you think that some of those dudes are gay and they're like, but she's do you think it's like some that are gay curious that are just trying to like bridge the gap, but it's like more comfortable for them to go after trans women?
I had a man one time that we were kind of dating, and one weekend, I used to go stay weekends with him. One weekend I went to see him, and he says, we need to talk. And I said, okay. And he's like, I don't think it's going to work out, this and that. And I was like, why? You know, we've been getting along great. What the hell? What's going on? And he said, I'm breaking. And he wouldn't really give me an answer. So I was like, you know, I deserve better than that. I deserve better than one of your fucking shitty lies. So tell the truth. What's going on? And that's just who I am as a person. I would never bullshit anybody, so don't bullshit me, you know. Be straight with me. And he said, I have to break up with you because I'm falling in love with you. That was the look I had as well. And I said, what?
What was your intent? What
do you mean? And and then it clicked. It wasn't because he was falling in love. Yeah, he was falling in love with me. But it was what everyone else would think.
Yeah.
Not secure enough in his own masculinity. That's the problem. That has always been the problem. Yeah. So, like, I've had relationships, but
it's quiet like, desperation. Like, that's fucking hell. But
I'm not lonely.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm free.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I meant it was hell for, like, that dude that was, like, too shameful to live his truth. You know, like, that is a fucking nightmare.
I told him, I said, you know, I throttled my demons a long time ago.
Word.
I suggest you do the same. And I said, if you ever manage to accomplish that, feel free to look me up. But until then, I refuse to be anyone's secret or anyone's plaything. I want validation, damn it. I've earned it. Yeah. I mean, I like to think I've earned it, you know, with everything I've lived through, everything I've done. And this book is just a small sampling. This is the crackling fire that forged me. Yeah. The second book, which I plan to release late spring, midsummer, that's the deadline. Cool. Yeah, that's my deadline I'm giving myself, is going to be much more in depth about my sisterhood and the girls in it. And because there are a lot of people that I realized I didn't mention, but I was trying to hit all the main points quickly, and make sure that I had them. And so I didn't really give much room for speculation, and I was so nervous to write it. And I just kind of just started.
I was nervous reading it. Fuck.
I was nervous as fuck. So I just wrote what I had down, and I was like, all right, let's see what happens. And I just submitted it to Amazon, and I prayed, and I was like, oh God, I hope they accept it. And it said it could take 72 hours to accept. So I sent it on a Friday, and on Monday at 7 p.m., they emailed me and said, congratulations, your book is live.
Nice.
And I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, I cannot believe it. So then I made a post and said, my book is live or whatever, check it out on Amazon. And I sold 18 copies within like the first 3 days. I sold a copy the first night. I was like, and it was just and I had girls message me saying, I just bought your book. We bought your book. I bought your book. And just so the outpouring of love and affection that I had from people that I didn't even know had that type of love for me is incredible. But it's not about me specifically. It is. The book is about my shared experiences, but it's the reader's story too. So it was your story just as much as it was mine. At this point in time and space, our stories have crossed. And it's all thanks to this book. And that is what's important. Our stories have crossed. And because we're all visitors to this time and place. We come, we learn, we grow, we leave. But it was meant for our story. And I tell everybody that. I'm like, everybody I meet, I'm like, it was meant for our paths to cross. One way or another, you're going to gain something from me that you won't forget. I leave an everlasting impression on people. I'm much bad at communication with texting, and responding. But in person, I leave an everlasting impression on people that you don't forget it. Yeah. You'll think about this interview days after it's over, just because of the sheer realness and rawness of it all. Yeah. As will I. I'll overanalyze it and think, oh, God, I hope I didn't fuck that up. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all new to me. I've never
I would say probably the biggest, I just, from reading the book to then meeting you, it's direct, man. It's fucking here.
Direct
again,
line.
That's even the very beginning. You're like, hey, dude, I don't give a fuck. You think what you want, man. Here's the fucking story. Fuck off, kind of.
Take what you want from it, leave the rest of it.
It's just, it's great. I appreciate the courage that of you bringing that forward, and not in a just like you said, right? It's for everybody. Here's my lived experience. I don't think there's anybody that could read that book and not relate in some way.
Right.
I don't believe that.
If
they did, they're lying. They're fucking projecting. They're just there's not. You know what I mean? So it's just the authenticity is there.
Right.
It's just oh God, and then there's also these examples because saying you're committed and showing you're committed are different things. It's very easy to say that you're committed. It's very hard to show that you are, and albeit through talking, over the course of this podcast, standing in the courtroom, admitting the fucking truth of I did throw even when the cops come, I fucking threw the knife. You're standing in front of the judge. I did throw the knife. You want to know why? Because he fucking is beating the shit out of us, and it's flight, or what's the other thing?
Fight or flight.
Fight or flight, right? I fucking fought.
Fought.
You flew away, and it's you got put into.
I did both.
So just all of those, standing in the truth of that, it's uncomfortable, but it's the fucking truth.
It is uncomfortable, but the fight, after I fought and realized that I wasn't getting where, that's when the flight come into contact, because I was always taught we don't run from fights, and so, but that was a fight that I could not win, no matter, and even if I tried to get along with him, aka kiss his ass, it didn't work. Yeah. It didn't work.
It probably also wasn't authentic, which is probably why it didn't work.
The motherfucker told me I had an identity crisis. Yeah. He says, I'll tell you what's wrong with you. You have an identity crisis. I said, motherfucker, I don't have an identity crisis. I know exactly who I am. I just don't want to be that. You know what I'm saying? And it's the rare person or man, woman that knows who they truly are. Because a lot of us, that's the big question we asked ourselves most of our lives. Who am I? What am I doing? Mm-hmm. What's my purpose? this is mine.
Yeah.
I'm Joslyn motherfucking Richards, and that's
Heard
who I'm
that.
going to be
Heard
until
that.
the day I die, you know?
Yeah, it's like there's this song. It's like I really like music a lot too. One of my favorite pieces of work is Mac Miller's Faces mixtape, and in that Faces mixtape, there's like a kind of like an intro to a song of this lady speaking, and she says, "Speak the truth, even if it leads to your death. Safeguard the helpless and do no wrong. This is your oath." And I mean, I think you're a spitting image of that. Like being able to stand in the truth and say, these are the things that have happened to me, and this is who I am, right? Like and God, just like the being there for people, you know, just like holding space for anybody. Like at the end of the book, you're like, hey, you know, like this is who I am. Like I would love to connect with you. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to hold space for you. And like just all of that. I mean, that speak the truth, even if it leads to your death. Safeguard the helpless and do no wrong. This is your oath, man. Like that's, you know, it just, that's,
if I could get successful enough with book sales, you know, and generate a decent amount of profit, I would like to open like a center for wayward trans and LGBT youth. Like I would like to buy property and actually have like a building where, like, because I have a lot of girlfriends that are really good with kids. I have friends that are teachers that if I said, hey, you know, I'm making enough money now that I'll fucking pay you. Come work for me. They drop their jobs in an instant and come work for me just because they know that. And that goes back to the respect I told you I built all these years.
Earned, yeah.
Earned. And one day that's going to come into play when I go to them and say, I finally need you. I never expected you to pay me back, but I do need your help. And they will do it. And, you know, because they've always told me, if you ever need us, if you ever need me, I'm here. Well, you know, you should do things for people without expecting anything in return.
100%.
And that is one thing that a lot of people in this day and age have a hard time grasping is not everything in the world needs to be transactional. Sometimes you should just be decent because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so like, that's how I am. It's like my mom would always say, well, what the fuck do they do for you? And I'm like, Mom, it ain't even about that. It's like if you are in a position to help somebody who's struggling and you can help them without hurting yourself in the process, whether financially, you know, emotionally, physically,
energetically,
you should. Yeah. Because that's what the church.
What the fuck else is a community for? Like literally, what else is a fucking community for?
Right.
What the fuck else? There's one purpose of a community. It's fucking to be together for each other. They're whatever, define it how you want. They're the core competency of the purpose of a community. You know, you think about the show like Little House on the Prairie. Like I like that show, and it's like you're at the Mercantile and you're like, hey man, see you at church on Sunday, you know, or it's like fucking, you know, what Charles makes this deal to like stack these grain bins with this one dude, and he's like, you know, I need a certain amount of money. He's like, I'll put up my oxen, like if I don't complete it in a certain amount of time, like you can have my oxen back. And he like falls and like breaks some ribs and he can like barely move. And then this dude in the community comes to Charles and he takes his fucking ox, like that he needs to run his farm. And there was like 2 hours left until the contract was up. And so Charles like tries to go back and he's like trying to get these grain bins back in the thing, and he falls again. And then his little girls are watching, and his little girls are like, you know, they're fucking like 5 and 7, and they're trying to drag these huge grain bins to to keep stacking. And they're just like, oh, Dad, like we can help Dad. And then somebody notices in the community, and then one man walks over and starts loading these fucking grain bins for him. And then the next thing you know, every man in the community is there.
And that's the way it should
They help the fucking guy do his thing. They get the oxen back, and then they fucking outcast that dude who was being a piece of shit to the person in his community. And it's like just the perfect example. Like there's one purpose of a community. It's to be with each other as they are, where they, you know, it's just fuck.
And I even have a story about that is very similar. I haven't really talked much about my mom's parents, but when my mom's mom was a little girl, and you got to keep in mind this would have been around the Depression era. Like it would have been like right probably after. And her dad had passed away when she was 10 years old. Now he had a son that was a doctor in Columbus that from a different relationship that he had been in before he got with my grandmother's mother. And when he died, they fell on hard times and they fell behind on the property taxes on the house. And so her mom swallowed her pride and she called him and she said, look, we're behind on the property taxes on the house. Could you loan us the money to pay the taxes? And I promise I will pay you back. Because she would do like embroidery and sewing and taking washing and stuff like that to earn extra money. And he said, yeah, I'll pay the taxes, but you and Donna, which was my grandma, he said, you and Donna got to get the fuck out. Yeah. And so, she's like, what? And
this is not what I fucking called you for, jackass.
He's like, no, you're going to get out. If I pay them taxes, you're getting out. And I don't give a shit where you guys go. So she went like to the neighbors and was like distraught and was telling the neighbor lady, like, I'm going to lose my house. Like, this is what's going to happen because he's a bastard. And, Ducky ain't around to help me. And them neighbors raised the money and paid them taxes. And they got to stay in their house. And then years later, he had nerve to call my grandma and ask her to come to the hospital because he was sick and dying. I'll never forget it. My grandma was standing there with the phone in her hand, and she said, oh, that's a terrible shame. Well, call me when the motherfucker dies, and click, and hung the phone straight up. And I was like, what? And my mom said, Mom, who was that? And she said, oh, shit. It was the hospital calling about my son and bitch and brother tried to throw me and Mom out of the house. I don't give a shit. That's what she said. And she meant that shit, too. And it's like, oh, my God, But it's like, that's the way.
It's like you're trying to take advantage of somebody.
That's the stock I come from,
man.
And so, like, my family, they were wild. My mom's siblings were all addicts and drunks. And that's just because they were spoiled and bored and didn't have anything better to do. Like, in the 80s.
That's fucking every rural country spot in America.
My grandpa had been in the service. And when he got out of the service or whatever, he worked for, it's not around anymore, so they can't sue me. Lake Hope Asphalt was a company. And they, like, did asphalt for the national parks, for Lake Hope State Park, and then they would like weld the pontoon boats if they needed fixed. So it was like a big garage. Mm-hmm. And my grandpa was welding on a pontoon boat, and there was a pinhole in it. And if you know anything about a pontoon boat, it's gas that's in there. It's what makes it float. And he did not know there was a pinhole in it. When he took the welder over, it exploded. And it blew him completely out of the building, and that was it. Blew one of his legs off. And they tried to reattach it, and it didn't take. So he lost one, and then he had one, and it ended up getting gangrene in it, and they took it. Well, in the 80s, they gave my grandpa close to $1 million in a settlement. Now, that's a lot of money in the 80s.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Just time value money. If you did fucking nothing to it 40 years later,
they gave him close to $1 million back
awesome.
then, settled him out. But that's the point that I'm making is my mom and them had the best of everything. They were spoiled. So my aunts and uncles were spoiled, and they just kids with money that had everything they wanted, and I'm going to do what I want. Yep. And so, then 30 years later, they go to prison and all this and that. And so it's like, I grew up around that. My mom she kept them at bay. We couldn't help but see it, though. I mean, it was there. They come around, unexpectedly and stuff. But she never really let us go stay with them. And me and my sister really didn't want to either. My Aunt Teresa was probably the only one I ever really liked that I would go stay with. And me and her were really close. But, life has a way of pulling people apart. Like I say in the book, even people that save you, you can still be pulled apart, But all the lessons, all of it that I got from I remember every woman I've ever met in my life, and that's a lot. And I remember every lesson each one of them gave me. Each one of them gave me something different, And then my mom, she had a best friend growing up. We'll call her T. And me and T's daughter used to play in the creek. That was where I got my countryside from. I learned to make bonfires and camp in the woods. And so it's like I'm very pretty to look at, but I'm also rustic. I'm rugged. So it's like I'm a multifaceted creature, which is where the books will come in. Like this forged me, but there's much more to me than meets the eye. And that's what I want people to realize is I think that's true for all of us. There's much more to all of us than what meets your eye initially. So You know, that's the point. It's not about how much money you make or what kind of, crowd that you have around you. It's important, the people you have around you. Yes, it is. But in the end, none of that matters. I believe that at the final reckoning, we get judged for the hearts that we touched along the way. Who did you help?
Yeah.
Whose did you extend your hand to in the darkness when they needed it the most? And if you go before whoever we go before and you say nobody, that's shitty moral character.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, I may be a lot of things, but don't you ever question my moral character, ever. Because I'd give somebody the shoes off my feet if they really needed it, and I would walk barefooted. And I've given people the shirt literally right off my back at parties, girls that's throwed up on themselves and stuff. I'm like, here, take it, because I don't have no shame. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's no shame in my game, never was, and there can't be.
Yeah.
There's no room for doubt. That is the big lesson. So, like, when you're different, or you think you're different, no, there ain't no you think. You either are and you own that shit, or you ain't. And if you ain't, it's okay. You don't have to be different to fit in. Everybody is unique in their own way, and the world needs variety, or it'd be fucking boring.
Heard that. There's this new album out by Baby Keem. It's called Casino, but there's a song in it, and one of the little bars of it is like, it's an incredible feeling to face all your fears, and
it's a.
I mean, again, I think hearing more about you in this book is that, man, facing fears. Fuck it, whatever. What's the worst that can happen?
I kicked my fear right in the pants.
Yeah.
I had to. Listen, I did not want people to think, and they even put me in therapy when I was young. I had to go to counseling because they thought that I was like having a crisis or something, and the counselors are like, no, this is who he's meant to be. This is normal. Like, this is, you don't understand. Because they, have studied, I do have a disorder. It is. Medically, it is labeled as gender identity disorder.
The word, that's just poor language. Words are bad
That's
medium.
just the label that the medical community can put on it. In order to, but, I know what gender I was at birth. I'm very much aware. I just don't want to be that gender anymore. And so, that's it. Simple as that. And I don't deny anyone their truth. Like I told you, I don't give a shit if you say you're a damn wall plug. I don't care. If you talk to me like you got some sense, you get the same back. But if you don't, then you get to meet Country Joslyn, and she's not very nice. And I don't like her very much. I like the Jane Mansfield, Joan Crawford version myself, and not the crazy Joan either. The one that was self-made star. And it takes ambition. Like, a lot of people have told me, you're awful damn ambitious for where you come from. And I'm like, is that a bad thing? I'm going to get out of here. I will be a lady someday, though I don't know when or how. Just like Reba said, but I'm going to do it. I will not spend the rest of my life with my head hung down in shame.
Yeah. I mean, that's beautiful. And that is what people can learn from. Like, seeing your truth, seeing you go through those hardships, like, that's where just like there's nobody on the planet that can't read that book and relate to just trivial journeys, like, and that's what is exciting. And it's exciting to hear that you're going to keep writing books. It's exciting to hear you're going to go to Cincinnati and talk about it. Like,
and I'd love to give you another interview when I write my next one.
Dude, recurring invite, when you want to come talk, say what's up.
Absolutely.
You know how to find me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, yes, I found it. Yeah. Which I'm good at it. That's what's going to make me a good lawyer. I'm good at finding things. But I know just common sense from marketing that I learned in school is you start local. Mm-hmm. You got to start locally, and then that's how it works. And then eventually other people will take notice of it. And, my big thing is I hope that there are professors listening to this, and I hope they order the book and read it, because, if you can get an in-depth inside view of what it's like, of how we feel, what we think, and some of the things most of us have been through. And, there ain't a woman out there that I have met, that trans or straight, that hasn't been sexually assaulted at least once in her life. So I felt that was a very important thing to include, because it's like, I hear you. you're not the only one.
You're not
Even
alone.
though
It's
I'm
so
different,
important
they
to hear.
still did it to me too,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So it's like, and that makes it, but I never let that define me. Like, I could have been a victim. I could have spent years, you know, but then I'm not living.
Yeah, I know some people that still are, that have just been traumatized, and since that day, like, there's just their victim. And it's, you know, again, everybody heals in their own time and shit, but I know people caught in the warp of, like, just never getting out of the victim mindset.
You know, Cyndi Lauper has a beautiful line in one of her songs that says, some boys take a beautiful girl and hide them away from the rest of the world, but I want to be the one that walks in the sun. Mm-hmm. And that is me. I want to be the one that walks in the sun. If you're a victim, you're not living. Mm-hmm. You can't live there in the past. Should you reflect on it? Yes, reflect on it. Take the knowledge you learn from it and move on.
Which
you
is
have to.
The advice to people that are dealing with that. Like,
yes,
that's the advice.
You have to keep moving forward because the world doesn't stop spinning. Mm. You know, you can, and it's okay to feel bad for yourself every once in a while, but don't let that define you.
It can't be your constant self-talk, because that just leads to you putting yourself in positions to believe things that are just untrue, that are only going to perpetrate more
like I
fear,
told you, even
terror.
All the horrible things I went through, not once did I ever think of ending my life or withdrawing from the world, because yeah, there are ugly parts like that in it. Yes, in the darkest corners of one's mind, you know. There's where the evil lives. But there's beauty there too. There's so much more beauty in the world than there is evil, you know. I have to believe that. And I've traveled. That's the thing about me. I've been everywhere. I've been to Georgia, I've been to North Carolina, South Carolina, I've been to New York, I've been all up and down the eastern seaboard. I've met people from all walks of life. I have no known enemies. And that's the funny thing. Most people do. And most people will say, oh, you don't have any enemies? Well, then, you know, short is the work you've done in the fight. That's not true. That is not true. Just because I don't have any enemies doesn't mean that the work I did in the fight was small. It means I caught more flies with honey than I did shit. And that is the golden rule. If you can't be nasty, because, you know, like I said, when you let people do things to you and you don't deal with it, I don't care if you got to scream, cry, whatever it is, because we're all divine beings having truly human experiences. So if you got to scream at the top of your lungs just to get it out, then do it. Do it. You got to, because sometimes the only way out is through. Right. And you got to feel it, and just feel it and let it go. And I know that's easy for me to sit here and say.
It's simple. It's not easy. Right? But it's simple. It's not easy. Yeah.
But it can be done, and I'm living proof of it. You just got to feel what you feel. Like when I was assaulted and they left me in the woods, I felt like a piece of trash. I felt like I was nothing. Like I was, that was what I was. I felt like they fucked me just to show me that all I was to them was a pussy. And that is how I felt. But at the same time, I thought, you son of a bitches, you will not win. You will not take my dignity from me, because I'm going to show up to school and you have to live with that. The greatest torture I give them. I could have knocked the fuck out of every one of them. Hunted them down, did some real crazy psychopathic shit. But that's not me by nature. They have to live with that.
Yeah, that's what I mean, dude.
Every time they look at their children, they have to wonder if somebody's going to do what they did to me to them. They have to worry about that. That is their payment for that, not me. I didn't do that. You know, because I did nothing but walk home. That's it. I chose to cross that bridge at that precise moment in time. And I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Of course, they was drinking, you know. Hometown boys is drunk. Beer cans all in the back of the truck.
It doesn't excuse shit.
It's disgusting.
It doesn't excuse anything, any action.
It was terrifying because I thought, I did not know if they had a weapon. That was my big thing. I thought, oh, God, they're going to fucking cut my face up or something, because my face is my calling card. That's my greatest asset. It's, you know, very feminine. And so I thought, they're going to try to knock my teeth out. They're going to break my nose. They're going to do something. So the whole time I just, you know, hands in front of my face. And they kicked, sure as they were cowards, they kicked me. And that's what they do when you're down. If you're a coward, will kick you when you're down. And they were all cowards, and they kicked me. And just kicked me and kicked me. And I didn't know if I was going to make it. I was like, did they crack a rib? Did they puncture my lung? Are my insides hanging out, because I just was gang raped by 9 men. They were men by that point. I mean, we were 16, 17 years old. What is going on? What's going to happen to me? So those are the questions you ask yourself is, what's going to happen to me as the truck is just moving and all you can see is the sky? And you're just wondering, what's going to happen to me? And so thank God they didn't have a weapon, because that would have just amplified it even worse. But considering what happens to some, mine was mild.
For you to have that mindset is unreal.
Well, I mean,
be grateful.
Look at the boy that got tied to the fence post out in Wyoming and beat to death.
Yeah.
Compared to what happened to him and others like him and little boys like Emmett Till, what they did to him, during the civil rights stuff, mine was mild compared to what they've done to others.
I think that's an incredible sense of show of strength for you to have that perspective.
And it's not like I try. It just kind of comes naturally.
Yeah.
It's just in me. That's just who I am as a person.
Speak the truth, man.
I can't be anyone else, and I wouldn't want to be anybody else.
Good for you.
That's what I tell people. I'm like, I'm not pretending to be anyone. I'm pretending to be me. That's if you're gonna, and it's not pretending. It's just this is who I am, and I can't. Yeah. I can't change any more than a tiger can change its stripes. I can't change mine, but I'm always there when people need me the most, when it's important, and whether it be a casserole or a kind word, I can be counted on, and that was a big thing. My grandpa used to say, "You ain't worth it. If your word ain't worth a damn, you ain't worth a damn, and don't trust a man that can't trust his pants." 2 words of advice that I got growing up. So. And he was right. And so, I always make sure my word is worth a damn. That it's, if I tell you I'm going to do something, then I do it. I don't ever just not do it. And, I don't know how many people will hear this, but I hope that it affects them positively in some way or another. You can do it. I did it.
Yeah.
I lived it. I'm living proof that you can do it, that it can be done.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. And that's what I tell that's what I've told my partners that I'm with. I'm like, if you're going to roll with me and stand beside me, you got to be secure enough in your own masculinity to not care what people think of you. And I don't care what people think of me. I could give one fuck less, really. But it's like, that's not the main point of the message. It's a big part of it is don't care. Because
be who you are.
They're not there at the end of your day.
Heard.
When you lay down at night in your bed, them people ain't there. They ain't paying your bills. If you ain't feeding, financing, or fucking me, then you're irrelevant to me. Simple as that, because I'm high maintenance as hell, but I maintain it. I'm the one that does it. So it's like, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. It costs a lot of money to look this cheap. Yeah. And when you invest this much time, effort, and money into it, you just learn not to care, And of course, I couldn't start hormones until I was 18. So I didn't.
You did do hormones?
Oh. I've been on hormone therapy for over 20 years.
Wow.
Since however long it's been since I've been 18, I'm 34. So.
Yeah, well, what was that like? So even just going through, you're starting puberty before 18.
My case is an interesting one.
What was it like starting?
When I started to go through puberty, I started to develop breasts. And I mean breasts, not man boobs, but round breasts. And so everyone was kind of shocked, and I'm like, this isn't normal. And so my mom took me to a specialist.
Did you get your blood work done?
Mm-hmm. They took my blood. They studied my chromosomes. So the best way I can describe it to you, the way they described it to us, was in embryo, all wombs are in utero, all babies start out female.
Yeah.
In the womb.
Yeah.
All eggs do. At a certain point in a woman's gestational period, and it's just a short window of time, your body will either add a hormone and make it male, and then the egg becomes male, or it doesn't, and then the egg stays female.
Yeah.
But your body only has just a certain amount of days, just a few days to add or not add this hormone.
Gotcha.
My mom's body waited right up to the cutoff point and threw it in there. So up here became what I was always meant to be. So I was meant to be female at birth, but it just happened. It was a fluke thing. And I think it was destiny. It's destiny. It was because I am very much womanly, like, and you can tell I'm very hyper feminine, shoes, makeup, hair, I'm all about it. But it's like, even though it's unfair, like I said, I've had an experience that few people have, and thank God that I had it. I mean,
and that's what's so valuable about you sharing the story.
Yeah,
100%.
and thank God that I had it, because, you know, if I hadn't seen the worst in human nature throughout my life, I wouldn't know what good people look like.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, like I said, 50 paces, I can tell you if I like you. And I can tell if you like you when you're coming across the yard, I can tell if you're going to be a problem or not. But that's just who I am. I had to learn to read people, because it was like, once that happened to me, I realized, okay, the world really is a dangerous place.
Intimately, you learned that at a deep level. Yeah.
So I was like, I need to be very careful and very aware of what I'm doing at all times of my life. And I am still to this day, and it carries over with you. You don't just forget. Hell, I still check the back seat of my car if I leave it unlocked at night. It's just because it's like, are they going to come back and finish what they started? And every single one of them, I guarantee you, every single one of them that did it bought a copy of this book. They know who they are. They know exactly what they did. But they're just in there to see if I mentioned it, if I brought it to light, if I brought them out in the no, I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, and it is liberation to get to the point that of not needing to.
But and people are like, why didn't you report it? Why didn't you say something? Well, what the fuck could I have done about it? These were prominent members of the community that had money and sway behind their name.
Small town politics.
I never would have won.
Yeah.
They'd have called me a liar and a whore.
And then made evidence against it.
And, yeah.
My son was actually at a volleyball game. We have 17 people that will say he was in the cafeteria. Yeah. I mean, that's just small town shit, you know?
Yeah. They would have called me a liar and a whore, and that would have been the end of it. And then there goes my reputation. Any kind of credibility I had would have been tarnished, and they would have loved nothing more. But that's the thing about me. I won't give them that. That's the one thing I always denied them was, you've took almost everything from me, but you're not going to take me away from me. Yeah.
I mean, that's terrifying. To just, they know.
They know. They know, and I know their wives know too.
Ooh.
Because that shit doesn't just go away. Behaviors like that carry over into your adult life. The fact that they rape me, what do they do to their wives when they're alone? You know what I'm saying? These women are going to read this, and they're going to say, oh my God, there it is. This is, oh my God. You know, they're going to know by actions that their partners already do or make them do that they're not comfortable with. They're going to know. And it's like, well, you did it. So I didn't release your identity. If you come out of the woodwork and tell on yourself, that's on you, buddy. I don't know what to tell you, you know. But it's like, I don't deny anyone their truth, and you won't deny me mine either. It happened, and if you didn't want it to come out in a memoir, you shouldn't have fucking done it. Straight up. Like, but then I've met men that were gentle with me as well, you know, that have been very kind to me and stuff like that. But it's like, I can't give them the thing they want most. That's children. And men want children, and they want families, and the same thing that I want, but it's not my fault. You see what I'm saying? So it's like all my life it's like there's adoption, there's IVF, or there's like what is it, like a surrogate. I mean, there are paths to. The greatest gift comes at the greatest price. And knowing who I truly am, that's the greatest gift, is that I know who I am, but I've paid the greatest price for it. And that's aloneness. Aloneness is the price that I had to pay, you know.
Again, show you're committed or say you are, right? It's really easy to say you are. It's really fucking hard to show you're committed.
Yeah, that was the price I had to pay. That was my price. Everything has a price in life. It does. And that was not being able to have a partner was the price I paid, but it was worth it. It was worth it. Because now don't get me wrong, I've had lovers, but I haven't had partners. You know what I'm saying? And it's a weird thing because it's like, you don't think that you'd get as much attention around these parts as I do. But it's like a dance. And it's always been my dance. You know what I'm saying? They always thought they was in the lead, but it was always my dance. You know, they just found themselves. Men would just find themselves in front of me. You know, beautiful primitive creatures. Their bodies just responding, I guess, to the inevitability of it all. It's a thrill. You know, I'm exotic, so it's like that's how I've always been looked at, as like an exotic piece of art that one is lucky to hold in their hand. But once they hold it, then the fad wears off.
Yeah,
and it's done.
Well, it's like the anticipation of a thing. Like I keep seeing these things come out now that are like, you know, like if you say like you're like on your way home from the grocery store and like your mom like says, hey, like, you know, I'm gonna stop at whatever. I'm gonna stop at Arby's. What do you want from Arby's? Like, you're going to get more satisfaction in between knowing that you're going to get the Arby's and your mom coming home. Like, but then when you get the Arby's, it's like, it's already over. Like you had the build up. It's like the build up's already gone. You know, so it's like anticipation of the thing is
the truth comes when a man comes. I've learned that. That's just now, I hate to say that may be a little racy, but as a woman, I've learned that, and it's true. It's like after that, that's when you realize, oh shit, like they're not as enthralled. They're just like they're not enthralled anymore.
Are you talking about post-nut clarity? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, something like that. I didn't have a proper term for it, but
that's just the term I picked up, you know, over the days.
That's a real thing, and it's like playing with a toy, and then they don't want to play with it anymore. But it's like what they fail to realize is, motherfucker, I'm a person.
Yeah.
I have feelings. You know, like, you can't just do that and then fucking toss me to the side like, you son of a bitch. Like,
well, just like you shouldn't any other human being.
No, nobody deserves to feel like that. But it's like, you know, instead of feeling sorry for myself about it, I was just like, you know, I read one time that Vice, what was it? How did that go? Vice is the price that had to be paid to virtue for something or another. And it was a good saying. But, that was the price I had to pay. And I realized that. I was like, like I said, I've had an experience that few others have had, but that it comes at a cost. Nothing is free.
Yeah.
Nothing is free. And so I paid it. Tenfold I've paid and paid it. So hopefully one day, you know, somebody will just see me, for the real me. I can't rush it. I can't push it. I'm done trying to train. You know, you can't, because you can't. And it's like, and that's what I try to tell people is when it comes to dating, they're like, oh yeah, I'd date you. And I'm like, I don't think you fully understand that once you do this, it's a complete lifestyle change. It's not much different than being with a regular woman, but at the same time, you can't be afraid of what people think of you. You just got to be like, that person, that girl's worth it. And that is the thing. I haven't found anyone that found me worth it, but I find myself worth it.
Fuck yeah, man.
So it's like, I'm not pressed.
That's what's up. Yeah, you know, it's, you know, like you said, man, it's, it'll happen. Like when it's supposed to happen, just like our paths cross when they're supposed to pass.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm good in everything. All aspects of what I do.
Like, because if you're not okay alone, you're not going to be okay with somebody. So to be okay alone, like that is the first step. Be okay with yourself. Be comfortable with yourself.
Because I've asked them, I'm like, did I do something wrong? Is it something I said? Did I make you uncomfortable? They're like, no, you ain't done nothing wrong. I'm just not in tune with myself. And it's like, then why in the hell did you reach out? That makes me mad. If you're not in tune with yourself, don't waste our time. Yeah. Don't puss out. Because we get ready and get dressed up and shit just like every other normal woman. You know, that aggravates the shit out of me. And I'm like, look, if you were scared to begin with, why didn't you just tell me that? And it could have waited.
At least yeah, man. Yeah.
You could have got to know me a little bit first. You know, not waste my time when I get here. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I just kind of quit. I just kind of quit dating. I don't really date. I just kind of don't really do much.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have time. The only way I'm going is up. And I cannot do that with somebody clinging on my skirt. I got to have somebody helping me up the ladder,
Heard that.
Partnership.
Yeah.
I can't do it trying to drag somebody along. And I'm
agree.
not, because I've been just as poor as anyone can be, you know what I'm saying? I may look like $1 million, but that don't mean I have it. But it's like, I've been as poor as anyone can be. The only way I can go is up. And I'm going up.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joslyn, I've really appreciated your time here today. I appreciate you standing in your truth. I appreciate you sharing this story. I appreciate you writing this book. So working through paralegal school, working on a second book, going to go talk in Cincinnati. How can people stay connected with you and just what you're doing?
I actually have an author's page on Amazon, so
Awesome.
you can keep track of all the books I write
Yeah.
through that. And then I am on social media. I have Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Perfect.
Joslyn Richards it's just my name.
Yeah.
If you look me up on Facebook, then you can get links to all my other stuff.
Perfect.
So, but
Perfect.
I'm on there. And, like I said, anybody, even you, if you need somebody, I'm just a text away. All it takes is for you to press the buttons, and I'm there. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about technology in this day and age is we are literally just a tap away. And so anyone who needs me, I'm there. I'm always there. So, I hope people enjoy the story and get something out of it as much as, enjoy it as much as I did writing it. Because I did enjoy writing it. It was painful, some parts, but it's wholesome and worthwhile.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor to be here.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to see the next book. I'm excited to see you keep standing in your truth. I think that you have the ability to influence a lot of people by standing in your truth. Like you are safeguarding the helpless and doing no wrong by standing in the truth and speaking the truth, even if it leads to your death. Like death of these other people, like whatever. You're killing all these things. Like killing like this.
I'll make sure you
expectation.
get a signed copy of my book in case they do
Shout out.
assassinate me. There's your ticket out of fucking poverty. That's what I've been telling people. I'm like, I'll give you a signed copy, and if they martyr my ass, then just take it. There's your first edition. And
That's really
but it's like I'm not threatening enough, I don't think, to be assassinated like most. Some people really, really like to push it, but I'm advocating.
Yes.
Instead of dismantling,
Yes.
I'm advocating and
via the truth.
Yeah, for us all, not just the LGBT community.
Yes.
It just happens that that's the community I live in. That I
Well,
fall under.
that's what I kept repeating. Like anybody can read this book and get something. You don't need to be gay. You don't need to be like you can. Anybody can read this book and go, wow, look at the strength, look at this resiliency. Exactly like you said, if she could do that, like, wow, you know what? Like, I've never had this happen to me, or I never had to abandon my home. Like, there's just like the mindset that you have in this podcast of just like, talking to these people. Like, there's so many things I think that people can get out of, interacting with you. And that's what I'm excited to keep seeing.
And that was what I was so happy to hear. And I'm so glad to hear you say that because that was my goal. That was the entire goal. And I look forward to more interviews and interviewing you about my next book when it comes out, or you interviewing me.
But if there's anybody else that you think has a perspective to share, like referrals as well, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Cool.
I might have a couple people actually in mind. So, yeah.
Awesome. Joslyn Richards, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.